I feel like sometimes those things kind of get stuck in our head, and then it's almost like a form of, not that I want to discount what PTSD is, but it's almost a form of like, oh, I can't even hear that without cringing or thinking about this weird time in my life, or it's those phrases. Like there's a certain smell when I worked at a hotel that, like, when I smell that smell, I'm like, oh, I can't go back there. I can't.
I would really like to know what that smell. What do you think it was?
It's just a Marriott hotel smell. It's just a typical hotel smell.
It smells like Paris.
Cleaner
Yeah. It's just whatever they cleaned with. And I was pregnant with Gabe at the time when I worked there, and so the smells got like etched into the like deep part of my brain.
Oh, wait a minute. We talked about this. When you said you see something and you remember that?
Yeah, we talked about movies and how
What was that?
I don't fantasize about smelling the scenes, but like I think about smelling the scenes.
Yeah, like what would it smell like?
Yeah.
Because they put that stuff in books. If you read books and then you watch the movie, like movie adaptations, yeah.
Oh, because they use word pictures where they're saying something you can smell because you've once smelled.
Yeah. But how do you translate it into a movie? Are they walk in a room and they're, or
right?
So how do you translate that?
Yeah.
So I always am curious.
That's a good question.
Right.
I wonder what it smells like.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if like it's a scene on a bus, like there's some pretty stinky buses.
Oh
if you've
yeah.
ever been
Or
on a
like
bus.
it's a wet day and they come on and they're shaking off.
Yeah.
For me, it's those like a living room scene or even a work environment where there's 10 or 15 of the people in the room are smoking. Because I grew up in an environment where you didn't smoke inside. When I was young, we would go to a restaurant and they would say smoking or non-smoking. And I think that lasted until just before middle school. I'm not sure what date it stopped.
And somehow the barrier wall kept the smoke from getting to the other people.
Yeah.
With like the glass panels on top of the booth.
We didn't even have that. We just had like, here's the section where you sit. There's a wall. Then there's another booth on the other side of the wall, and they're just toking it up. They're just chain smoking in front of their steak.
Roadhouse Grill used to be called something else.
Smokehouse Grill.
It was Mackenzie Grill, and it was a buffet. Do you remember?
Really?
Do you remember?
No. I don't think I was here.
So
when
you walk in, there's a lobby, right? And there's seating on the right, and there's seating on the left. And so one or the other was smoking, the other one wasn't.
Weird.
Yeah. It was just weird. But it's like people compare it to a peeing section in a pool, right?
What? Is that a real thing?
It's not. I mean, if you need a peeing section in a pool, it sounds heinous, right?
What pool do you go to? Because we want to make sure we're not there.
So my mom and dad built an in-ground pool when I was 12 in their backyard. And so now the thought of going to a public pool with a bunch of little kids in diapers or without diapers makes me cringe. Or the like public hot tubs that are foamy. No, thank you.
Were you ever told as kids that if you peed in the pool, it would turn blue or red or some color all around you and everybody would know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I asked my mom and dad if we can get that chemical for their pool, and they actually looked for it. There's not. I mean, I'm sure there is. I mean, there's chemicals that you could put to, accentuate urine, right? That mix in with the chemicals in your urine that could change the colors, right? A chemical reaction, but I don't think they sell it for.
I think there's a market for this. I think we have a good business idea for Nate.
Yeah.
We could promote it right here on the.
Well, should we actually introduce our guest?
He's not really a guest. He's our friend.
Are we recording?
Oh, but they don't know him.
No, they don't know them.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, record.
All right. Well, I guess we should say, hi, this is the No Direction Podcast.
Oh, no.
I am Erin Beggs. This is Jamie Worley.
Yeah.
And our wonderful guest today is Nate Stevens
There he
of
is.
Nate Stevens Curiosity Labs.
Yeah.
You're going to do the hi.
We're going to figure out just what curiosity means in this laboratory he runs.
Well, he does post photos of a curiosity lab, and I'm kind of curious where that lab is.
I think this is a great transition to a psychological studies done in the 60s and 70s where there was a
Are you talking about MK Ultra?
it was a couple's psychological testing on site. They lived there and they did things, and they were studied as they did these things to. Just Google it.
You sound very uncomfortable right curious. Now, friend. Did you Google it, but on incognito mode?
Well, I have a degree in psychology, so when I was
I got that makes it right. That makes it better, right?
I got a BS in psychology.
I can Google whatever
I
want.
mean Bachelor of Science, okay? Yeah. But there's these studies that were happening where they observed men and women. I don't know how curious they were, but I do think that
what were these
whole
men
study
and
is
women
a good
doing?
transition.
My imagination isn't as good as yours.
Well, you just need more experience, Aaron.
Are there certain topics off limits?
No.
On this podcast?
Yeah.
No. We don't talk
I mean, I told you what
sex,
I foghorned, right? I mean, come on. Yeah.
No,
I don't usually say stuff like that, but who knows?
Yeah, well, you don't have to. You can say whatever you want or whatever you not whatever you want.
Because I'm curious about these studies. Like, was it like normal people?
Yeah, they were married couples, and if I remember right, they were married couples, and they observed them sexually to see how the husband and the wife respond to each other, how they reciprocate, how they don't. What were the faces when the other one wasn't looking? What was that like? Was it real enjoyment or was it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like if you knew you were a part of that study, you might play act a little bit.
Yeah,
like almost to a little bit of a. I think this is what they're looking for because I know if I was on video or even if it was just microphones in my bedroom.
What was that like for you?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to perform a little bit different.
There's always that element. But I'm sure if they do it over the course of time, they get a better sense of like what's natural, what's not.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's super interesting, though, because that's like a really intimate dance. It's like a conversation.
It is.
And you do all these different things in a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's super fascinating.
I would like to do a long-term study on the people who were involved in that to see whether they have become voyeurs now or not. Right. Because, and I'm being serious, because when people are being watched, and at first it's uncomfortable, but some people, and I studied these types of sexual dysfunction, mental issues, what was uncomfortable and offensive then became an addiction.
Yeah.
That now this is the norm for us, where they enjoyed it. Let's do that again, kind of a deal.
Is that because they were being watched? Like if they're being watched, so now all of a sudden they're doing these things that they wouldn't normally have done that are a little bit more extreme because of the spotlight almost. Like sometimes you turn a camera like on a small child, for instance. You pull out the camera and they start posing. You're like, oh, but they don't walk around just posing for a camera, No, so you pull the camera out.
But that's a good question.
There's a little bit of an element there.
Any addiction starts with initial exposure. And even if that initial exposure is uncomfortable, but it continues to be repeated, kind of abusive relationships. Why?
Sure.
And not trying to be sexist, but typically it's women who are in an abusive, a man's abusing her, and they'll break up, then she'll go right back to him over and over and over again. Or even if they break up, then they'll find somebody else who is abusive.
Right.
So it begins with exposure, even if it's uncomfortable, but then patterns can develop. These neural pathways can develop, even if it's adverse to their feelings. It's something that's familiar. And we tend as humans to be humans of habit, number one. And two, humans, we seek the path of least resistance, even if it's unhealthy. It's familiar. And we go back to what's familiar.
Yeah. I think there's different types of addiction too. Because there's like sexual arousal, like what you started with. Like you can condition certain, or there can become certain conditions that are necessary because you've adapted to it, like danger or being watched or whatever. Like there's lots of, it seems like there's lots of, I think there is anyway, lots of research on that sort of thing, of conditioning, like since Pavlov and his dogs.
Yeah.
And then there's different types of stuff. I read once that humans seek a state of homeostasis. Yeah. And I think that has something to do
balance.
with and when you don't know, when you're out on your own, like out of an abusive relationship, it seems like things are so crazy at that point where the only thing you know is at least there's this kind of stability. At least I have a place to sleep, or at least I have dinner.
Right.
Or,
there's a level of certainty to the person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's harmful, they're certain about how this works. There are really no unknown factors.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't like unknowns. I'm dealing with unknowns now. I don't like it.
Right.
I good or bad, just I want to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's something to be said for that.
Well, that was one of the warnings I got when I had my weight loss surgery. Was people quite often will transfer their addictions, right? So after you have weight loss surgery, you can't eat as much food, therefore you can't scratch that addiction need by gorging yourself.
Yeah.
And so you transfer it to something else, whether it's shopping or sex, or maybe it's drinking.
Yeah.
You know, and so that transfer addiction is something that they warn you to be on the lookout for, to make sure that you don't replace it with something else, and you're not following and trying to chase whatever that high is that your brain needs.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the reasons that people don't choose healthy addictions, like you were saying, let's say working out or exercising, the reason people don't choose that is because it's not pleasurable. Working out is painful. It's hard. It's strain. It's tiring. It tires you out. Typically, people seek the types of addictions where there's this immediate gratification or some sort of escape, because they're coping with the absence of the old addiction. They have to fill that void now that addiction's gone. It's not really like Aaron, you just said it, the addiction itself is not gone, but the object of that addiction is gone.
Right.
You've quit that one. But now there's this automatic thing in our brains. These neural pathways have been found that say, hey, we've got to get this result. What's a different way to get that result? And we're really good at manipulating our own selves to seek those unhealthy things, but they're pleasurable to us.
Sure.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pleasure. It's a hard one to get around.
Pleasure is a hard one to get around.
There's I used to power lift a long time ago, and there's a.
I can tell, dude. Look at you.
Thanks.
You look like a logger. Did you do some logging?
No.
Jeez, man.
No logging.
A brick house.
But there's a famous powerlifter, Mark Bell, and one of his things was you got to choose your hard. And I used to be. Actually, today when I weighed in, it was like I officially went below my goal weight that I set. Like
you have lost weight
2 years ago.
Congratulations!
You have lost weight.
So
that's amazing.
Even since you've known me,
when I first saw you, you looked like Butterbean.
Yeah,
you were not that.
I don't
big,
know who that is. But
okay, he was a boxer and could knock anybody out. You reminded me of a miniature Butterbean.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But I was even bigger before I met you.
Really?
Yeah. I was up to 320. I was really bad. But Mark Bell said you have to choose your hard, meaning, it might be hard to go to the gym today, but it's even harder to be fat and 50.
Wow.
And
yeah.
So you got to choose your hard. And that, I mean, Mark Bell, like West Side Barbell and that whole powerlifting thing was what I was trained in and stuff. So when he said it, I was like, okay, it must be true. Like, from certain people,
the credibility,
just take it for
right?
granted. Yeah,
a lot of credibility there.
Yeah. And I've now proven it to myself that you got to do the hard things daily, but it is so much worth it. Like not being able to bend over to pick up my kids was awful.
Oh, man.
That was hard. Yeah, it's hard to get up and go to the gym, but it's not as hard as being like, oh, I can't pick up my kids.
Yeah.
It's different.
So he said, what did he say? Choose your hard?
Choose your hard.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's deep.
Keep it appropriate.
You know, I mean, it's.
Aaron.
Nice.
I wasn't even going to go there. So when I was losing my weight and I started working out, I started very slowly right after surgery. And it was just walking in flip-flops, going for a half-hour walk. And then that transferred into going for a half-hour walk, but now I'm in tennis shoes. And then so it was baby steps, and I worked my way up to, at one point I was working out twice a day. And so I'd get up, I'd do an hour weightlifting workout, and then that night I would do a 45-minute run or walk. And I was in the best shape of my life, but that's another type of addiction too.
Yeah.
Freaking teenagers. I don't know if you all could hear that on this, but what do they call those, rice burners?
You're a racist.
It's a car.
You said midget last week. You can't say that word.
No,
we can say that word.
You're spinning this around. Yeah, but I think even working out could be a type of addiction too. Absolutely. At some point, because you do get that adrenaline and an endorphin rush.
Right.
I mean, they always talk about the runner high, right? Which I'm not entirely sure what that is.
You hit that wall when you're running where you just like, I can't go anymore. But if you go just a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
It's like you stop feeling pain and your body's just on autopilot.
I think
you're not even hurting anymore. You're not winded anymore. You're just moving.
The longest I've ever run at one time is 7 miles. And I never hit that stride at 7 miles. Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure for me it's after 7 miles somewhere, somewhere in the great wide open. I enjoyed running. It pushed myself to do something different, but
yeah.
I need to get back to working out, man.
Were you listening to anything when you were running those 7 miles?
Usually I was just listening to a playlist I'd put together, but I ignored most of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the playlist I would listen to is just music from the past, but really upbeat music. Yeah. At one point I did do a running workout course. And so I had the trainer in my head, and she knew exactly when to say something like, all right, I know you want to give up, but you can't give up. You got to keep going. It was like always right when I was about to give up, which is beautiful.
Which for me is always.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm done. So that was really nice to have her in my head when I was training. But when I actually ran the races, it was always music. I tried to listen to podcasts, but they were too slow. Yeah. So, for me, it was always just really upbeat music.
So I have a really good question that banks off exactly what Nate just said when he asked you what you were listening to. What would you say? Because, Nate, you still work out. You work out still. I work out. What is on your playlist? Like, what are the top 5 songs that when they come on, you're just like, yeah, and you're just, you just get into it. It's like, What are the top 5 songs? Either one of you can answer. Or bands.
Nate already knows. He's like, I got this.
Nate already knows. It's probably like the Village People or something.
If Rap God ever comes on by Eminem, like I know there's going to be a really good part in the song where I'm going to want to be doing some reps during the middle of it.
2 trailer park girls run around the outside, around the outside, around the outside.
When he just when he goes off, it's like, okay. If he can do it, I could lift anything.
That's the contest one, right? Where
he just said, if a white man can rap, I can lift this weight.
Yes, you can. Yes,
well, that and also just be as fast as he is. Like,
oh man,
there's no way that he didn't not practice.
Yeah,
and it's just evident. Like
it's
when you
awesome.
hear it.
Yeah. So you got a little Eminem. What else?
Eminem. I usually choose a song in Spotify and click the 3 dots and just start radio.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of random every time.
So it does
if I'm not into a tune, I'll skip it.
Yeah.
But
okay, so you pick one song and then it starts automatically feeding similar type of songs.
Yeah. But anything by a band called the Acacia Strain, they get me going. I mean,
the who? What?
The Acacia Strain.
The Acacia Strain.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I've never heard of them.
They're
we're going to check that out.
A Boston hardcore band.
Really?
Yeah, they're pretty.
Is it like punk or is it like thrash?
I always call them hardcore. I think
it?
they're like beatdown core or something like that. They're also part of like a big. I guess they're a gang. Like the whole thing in the hardcore scene. It was like part of the fight. They were just a big fight band. Like they'd always bring their crew with them.
Wow, I am really old. I don't know what that is.
But
I know what Fight Club is. We don't talk about it though.
Yeah. No. So in hardcore music, there's a breakdown, and there used to be pit crews where if you were friends with the band, like maybe like there's friends I had, we'd wear all the same bandana, and when they would play. Yeah. We would go in the pit and we'd dance. We were their pit crew. No, it was before like fighting.
Oh.
Like it was like we'd circle pit together. There's all this like fight style dancing.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Hardcore dancing.
No, I've never seen that.
I know this is not that, but it sounds very West Side Story to me.
Yeah, it is. It's very dramatic. We're all trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But pit crews turned into crews.
Yeah.
Like they turned in from like being specific to a band to we're all just like a gang basically.
Okay.
One out of Boston called FSU, which is Acacia Strain was associated with them. Mm-hmm. They like became a legit gang. They were like selling drugs and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, they had a branch in LA. And
so how many cars have you stolen?
I've never stolen a car. No.
That I'll tell you about.
That's disappointing.
No, I don't.
What kind of gang member is this guy?
But it just all started with music, man.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't remember why we started. Oh, because that band.
That's cool.
That band.
Yeah.
I think whenever they come on at the gym, I think about that feeling I would have at the show. Pit, right? It was like, oh, like there's going to be a fight.
Dude.
Yeah.
There's like, you got to watch your back or you're going to get hit.
It's got to be a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Man, so, like I have been in a mosh pit. Mm-hmm. I'm nearly 6'4", 240. I did pretty well. Dude, you are a beast. I can't imagine you in a mosh pit. I think people would fly off you like a water flying off a spinning tennis ball. That's exactly what I view when he's in there.
Just like this brick.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just get out.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Well, I had people try to hit me really hard in the mosh pit, and they bounced off of me.
Oh, yeah.
Guy limped just off of the separated shoulder because he ran into me.
Yeah, if you're 180 pounds, you're bouncing off of me. Unless you're running very fast. It's just physics.
Dude, what do you weigh right now?
237.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm right at 240. I weigh myself. I lost a pound. I'm at 239.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, dude, look at him and I. Just look at us.
I can't stop. I just literally cannot stop. Are you going to tell us your music choices?
Were you ready?
What's on your playlist, Aaron?
I don't have
New Kids on the Block
and KOTB. I don't have specific people, but as long as it's rage music while I'm running or working out hard,
oh come
I'm
on!
all
you
about
pulled up
it.
Today in your Mustang.
No diggity, no doubt.
What's rage music?
Rage music.
Yeah, what is rage music?
Anything that's just like
Slayer,
angry. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just got to be angry. I don't know who sings it, but it goes, die, motherfucker, die. No, neither one of you.
Go Ninja,
probably
go Ninja.
Probably a Christian
rap
band.
I love
that
Ninja
was
rap.
Vanilla Ice. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Yeah,
Nate,
I don't
stop,
know why.
Just stop, Nate. Collaborate and listen.
Dang, you got me.
I got him. Bam.
All right, am I clean? I'm on video.
You're clean. You're all good. Matter of fact, the camera's on you right now.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah. So things that are angry get me pumped up, and I'm like, yes, I can't have anything slow. Anything. It's skip.
Yeah. What bands? What like?
I don't know.
You don't know?
It's like it's. I don't know bands really. It's.
Yeah.
I like the song. I listen to the song.
Yeah.
I do like to listen to the song when I'm running. Damn, I feel like a woman. By Shania Twain.
When you're running?
Yeah.
It's a good one to work on.
Right.
Yeah, it is. You should.
I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, there's a reason he hasn't done it yet.
Music's hard though. Sometimes it totally makes you lose focus. Sometimes I'll just take everything out and just need to focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah. You ever popped into the gym and dug into your bag for your headphones, and guess what? You left them at home.
Yeah.
Or you left them in the car and you're too late. It's funny. I left them in the car. I'm too lazy to go out to the car to get them. So I'll just stay there and work out.
Right.
Like there's this.
It's cold outside, Jamie.
I'm too lazy to go outside, but I'm not too lazy to lift a bunch of weights. At
your gym, though, it's a little inconvenient to go down the stairs, out the front door, to your car, because that parking lot can get pretty full, and then back through the maze that is the gym.
I park a solid 200 yards away from the front door, just because it's usually
sprints in.
Yeah,
just sprint to the door.
No, Jamie doesn't sprint.
You need your steps. I know you don't sprint. We did that race together, and you're like, I'm dying. And I said, don't you play basketball? Come on.
You were right beside me. You were right beside me, dying with me.
That's because I didn't want to leave you behind.
Stacy Rustad Smith ran up the hill, came down to check on us, ran back down, went back up. We're still not up the hill. She runs back down to check on us again. Come on, you guys, you got this. I believe in you. And she runs right back up the hill. We're about 2/3 of the way up now, her and her friend. And she's like, man, they're still not. So she runs back down the hill to get us, puts her arm around us. Let's go.
She easily got 4 times the amount of steps as we did during that race.
I don't know anybody
we kept stopping
better.
for selfies, and then we would interview people as they're running. And we're like, hey, man, what are you feeling about this? You should, and then like instigating. Hey, you should go down this mudslide this way and not this way. And give me your camera. I'll take a picture of you. That was you and I.
Yeah, they fell for it every time. We led people right into mud puddles and stuff. It was
awesome.
Great. Yeah. Well,
what about you? Playlist.
Yeah, playlist is going to be. You'll find a lot of Van Halen.
Okay.
You'll find some Metallica, some Enter Sandman. would it Dare to Roam, Wherever I Roam. When Van Halen hits, or some sort of Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart, Rat, some Ozzy, some Black Sabbath maybe. But I'm with you. It's got to be angry music, and because I don't want to be there. There's nothing inside of me that wants to be there, and so I'm mad about it.
Okay.
So I just feed the fire. I just fuel that anger. And a lot of people say, "Man, you shouldn't work out angry like that." I'll tell you what, and I don't know how many other people do this, but when I go to the gym and I put my headphones on and I'm approaching whatever weight bench or whatever dumbbell rack or whatever, I flip the switch. I'm not me. Mm-hmm. I get into this mode, and it's a pretend mode for me, but it really is me. There's this thing inside of me. It's not a different personality, but there's a different flavor of my personality.
Spicy.
Where it is, I can be very mosh pitish.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, like yesterday, I set the dumbbells down because they just, oh my God, I went to failure, right? Mm-hmm. And so I put the dumbbells down and I gave them double birds. And I just work out really angry, and I looked over, and there's this little Mexican guy over there, and he's just laughing. He could not believe I just flipped off the weights. But that's how I work out. I don't always flip off the weights, but that music just, man, there's just something about...
It's like an abusive relationship with you. You and the gym are an abusive relationship.
I cannot tell the Eisenzimmers this.
Are you being filmed?
There's a tradition in
I don't know.
powerlifting. I can't remember where it came from. I picked it up somewhere along the way, but when you're doing deadlifts, you're supposed to respect the bar enough to never step over it. And it's this like keeping a mindset that it's like you respect your enemy basically, because the more weight you add to it, the harder it is, but the better it makes you.
Yeah. I have no character when I'm lifting weights.
But it's a similar thing of like you're recognizing your enemy. Like you're recognizing like the bar, being able to lift something isn't like you're not partners with that weight. You're resisting that weight. Yeah. Like it is literally your resistance.
Yeah.
So but the adaptation is what is good, but the workout isn't. Like you're doing damage. Yeah.
I think my whole thing is I'm going to seek and destroy. It's not. I have zero respect for my weights. I have zero respect for what's pushing against me. And probably it's because of all the hell I've been through in my life that I just don't deal with pushback very well when it hurts me. And so for me, it's something to overcome. It is something to completely not only defeat, but to annihilate. And that sounds very dark, but I come from dark places. And, it's when I look at that, I'm just thinking, I'll give you an example. I got to 8 on the dumbbells. And I'm like, I can set it down now because I was trying to stay between 6 and 8 reps. And then I looked in the mirror and I looked at those weights and I gave them a nice FU in my mind. And I'm going to do 10. Screw these rates. and I put them down. Yeah, when I was done, I put those weights down in a respectful fashion to the gym. However, I have zero empathy for those weights.
Well,
and that's just my style.
I like rage lifting. For me, it gives me the energy to do it, and it's not to get through it because I actually enjoy working out. I like the process of working out. Yeah. I like the repetitiveness of it. I like it makes me feel good. It's like it hurts so good. Yeah. But I like the rage just gives me that energy, I think, to be able to lift more, right? If I was listening to soft pop music, then I'm probably not gonna lift as much weight, right? Or my workout's not gonna be as long or as effective, or I'm not gonna stay on task like I would if I'm raging. I'm like, like beasting out and going through the process.
I've never talked about any of this stuff. It's interesting. There's just all these things I'm realizing I do that are like.
Well, like one of the things that you said was. With the music, and you were talking about sometimes you just pull them out so that you can just, listen to something not music. It's interesting to see what kind of workout I have when I have my music as opposed to when I don't. How is it different? How is it the same? Those types of things. It's just interesting because all of a sudden there's an awareness around me, and I have to be just as strong as I was when I was inundated with with this music, with this angry music. And it's not always angry. I'll throw in a little bit of sometimes Boys to Men or,
NKOTB.
I
know that when I track them, my intensity is always better when I don't listen to anything.
Interesting.
But is
that a focus issue?
Well, I rely on the music for my intensity, but when I don't have anything, then I have to rely on myself. And so that's when you were talking, I realized, there's when I'm doing sprints, I think of people picking up my kids and running away from me, and there's no way you're getting away from me. Yeah. And I put that thing as high as I can.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
And when I'm doing heavy shoulder presses, I'm thinking about I got to throw somebody off of me, and I'm and like you said, from my past, I've been in some pretty bad situations where if I didn't know the things I knew or know, maybe I still know them, but at least I knew them at the time. That saved my life, where it's I rely on the situations of there's some bad stuff in the world, and maybe the only thing that I face for the rest of my life is falling down, and I'll be okay for that. But maybe there's people who want to do something to me, and I pull from that for my intensity, and I pull the music out sometimes because it's just I gotta go.
Absolutely.
So one more thing, you keep saying rage, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
We use terms like hypertrophy, strength, power, speed, when we talk about sports today. But I can't remember the reference. It was either ancient Greece or Rome or somewhere in the Middle Ages. They would describe those as power, strength, and violence. Violence was the combination of what we would call power now, heavy stuff moved fastly is violence.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it's a part of movement. It's a part of humanity. It's a part of, I don't know, our culture wants to dampen down violence as this specifically evil thing, where it's actually more of an attitude, like anger.
Sure.
If you know how to understand your anger, then you know how to understand how to interact in the world a little bit.
Yeah. You know how to use it for the right reasons, right?
Violence. Yeah. If someone is taking my kids, I will be violent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's an appropriate way to tap into that part of humanity.
You talk about a violent sea, right? Sometimes when the ocean is being a jerk and it's, a stormy season or a stormy day, you talk about it as being a violent sea.
Yeah,
so I don't think violent has to be negative, you were saying, violent
or harmful to someone.
Violent can just be intense,
overwhelming,
right? And words do change over time, what they mean. I'm curious how you guys would lift if you were listening to a white noise in your brain.
Versus fan?
Well,
I would totally fall asleep because I have a fan on every single night. I can't sleep without a fan. I would fall asleep on the weight bench.
Yeah, we have a fan and then we have ocean wave sounds. But I'm curious how a white versus taking your headphones out and just listening to the clatter around you or listening to rage music.
That sounds horrible.
Probably depending on how loud it is.
We should do a study.
There's been studies on white noise. It does something to your brain, but I can't remember what it is. And I think at certain times it's not particularly great for brain function. But that would be interesting. I'd wonder if I'd tuned it out after a certain point. You know how you just get into the zone sometimes and you just...
Or classical music. How would you lift with classical music?
I used to, when I was boxing, I would train all the time with classical music.
Okay.
There's something about...
Well, there's rhythm there, and you need it for boxing,
I listen to Chopin. There's something about the movements and it's also you might have a 3-minute part. So I know that I'm in that 3-minute part. And then when that transitions to another part of the arrangement, then I know I move on to the next part of the drill or whatever I'm doing.
And classical music can get violent, right? If we're using violent in an old term as being intense, classical music can get pretty intense, with all the instruments just going,
Well, why is that so hard for me to hear? Why is that so hard for me to hear that classical music can be violent?
I don't know.
You're right.
Is that an oxymoron, though? Because we use the word violent, just like Nate was saying. We use the word violence as attacking or just being mean to something. When it doesn't have to be that word.
Yeah, it doesn't, I guess.
We like to attach morals to lots of things that are just natural to humanity.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's not always good.
Was it moral to flip off the dumbbells, Nate?
Was it moral?
Yeah, was it moral, or was it just something?
Well, when you
happened?
go to the weightlifting,
I don't know if I should apologize.
School of thought is that you should respect the dumbbells because they are helping you.
Well, I would still if you can't lift 400 pounds, you don't step over it, but you'd be like, fuck you, man. Like, you're still
absolutely.
mad at it. Like, there's still, but it's the idea of like,
there's some rage there.
Like, you got to know your enemy kind of idea. Like you have to respect it enough where you can't just walk up to 500 pounds and be like, I got this. And you just, you know, like it's your,
I don't know. Have you met me, Nate?
Right. There's just something about like, it's such a weird thing to put it in when you're in the gym every day, handling it. Like it makes sense to put it that way, but it's more of a metaphor of like,
Well, the respect I have for the weights are this. Not when I'm handling them, but I'll come back tomorrow to see you. I respect you enough to come back and beat your ass again.
Okay.
That's the respect. I'm giving those weights my time and effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my mind, right?
Yeah.
I'm coming back, I guess, and I'm going to lift you again. You're going to hurt me again. I'm going to have bad thoughts about you. I'm going to have murderous thoughts about you, and we will part ways. I'll go shower. I'll hit the sauna if I have time, and then I'll see you tomorrow.
Right.
Because we can still, there's a relationship. Seriously, there's a relationship with the equipment.
It's weird.
In my mind.
Yeah.
There is.
And Nate, you're talking about that familiarity that you have with certain weights. You know what it's going to give you. You know what you're going to give it. And some days I'm just surprised at how much I can give those things.
Yeah.
And some days I'm really surprised that normally this would be fairly, challenging, but I could do it. Yeah. And some days the same weight that I was able to lift yesterday beats my rear end the next day.
Yeah.
Which I love that level of competition.
You have to, because if you're always winning, then you're not doing the right thing.
No.
And if it's not really an enemy where it's beating you sometimes, where then you have to come back strategically, you have to adapt to it, and then come back and win, try to win again, to win again.
Yeah.
Like if you're not thinking about that way, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's not just the wins that keep us coming back, right? Yeah. It's the losses.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not going out like that.
Especially when it's like what you're saying. You're like, I know I got to get 8 or 9, and I'm like struggling at 7.
Yeah.
And I put it in there like fucked up at 7.
Yeah.
And then next week, I'll read it.
Yeah.
I fucked up at 7 last week on set 3. All right, I got to get all 9.
And that pisses you off, doesn't it?
It makes me mad. Yeah. Because why is, 50 pounds beating me or whatever it is, like.
Well, in the programs that I use, depending on the workout in the day, sometimes we'll do 15 reps, but we'll do it twice. And then other days we'll do 10 reps, but we'll do it 3 times, And so it depends on the workout. And I follow a guide that's a woman who teaches, and I watch videos and stuff. And she always encourages you, get through the workout, even if you have to go down a weight set.
Yeah.
Get through the actual workout. Go down, you're still getting stronger, even though yesterday you might have been able to do it, today you can't. So just go down, maybe it's 2.5 pounds, maybe it's 5 pounds, and just go down a little bit, get through the workout, note it on your notebook that this is what I did today, and then next day, come back and do it differently, And there's a lot of things that could affect that, right? It could be, maybe I'm on my period, right? And so I'm not going to lift as much because I'm tired as hell and my body's working really hard.
Yep.
And then other days it might just be, I ate a really good diet yesterday. Today I'm eating a really good diet. I woke up well. I had a good night's sleep, and now I can, run the world.
Or you
and
wake
I
up
can
spicy.
get through this. Yeah, I wake up spicy like this morning. Yes, absolutely. So I mean, you got to fill your body out and you got to work with it. And I think it's okay to get upset because you couldn't do today what you could do yesterday, but getting through the workout and not letting it beat you, I think is key, especially mentally, because getting to the gym is all mental. Once you're there, you're still mental, but it's also mental and physical. But if you can't get yourself there, I mean, this is what I've been struggling with for like 3 years. If I can't get myself there, if I can't press play, if I can't lift that weight, then that's all mental, and that's what I got to figure out.
Yeah.
So it's
because you're fully
it's a combination.
Capable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love what you said about how even if you have to lower the weight or the reps or whatnot or the time, you have to finish the workout. I have some friends, I'm sure everybody does, who are alcoholics. They've been sober for years. If they take one drink, they're right back where they started.
Right.
And that's the whole idea, right? I think quitting is the same way. When we quit, it's like, for me, it's like it puts me right back there because
quitting your workout,
so
to be clear, not quitting
to quit.
drinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
if we're talking about coffee, that's a whole other issue. However,
I agree with you.
mean?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I did. I was working out twice a day, every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hadn't started running yet. I was asked about 5 weeks in advance of a relay race if I could join these people as one of their teammates. I said yes. I trained really hard. I trained too hard. Ran the race. On my third leg, my knees kind of gave out, so I had to walk my third leg. I couldn't run it. My knees would not let me.
Wow.
And then from there, it got in my head, and I started thinking, if I worked so hard to get to where I am today, just to have my knees say no thank you very much, then what's the point? And I haven't been able to get over that since.
Wow.
So that's what I'm working through
It was
for a while.
Just the disappointment.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what it was?
It's like, I should be able to do this. I've been working out hard. I'm lean. I'm fit. I can keep up with my trainer, all those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But that one race literally destroyed all of it.
Yeah. How many races have you done where it really worked out well?
So I did that same race the very next year, and I was able to run all 3 legs, which is fantastic. Yeah. I did change my shoes. So I went and bought the real expensive shoes to make sure that wasn't an issue, and my knees stayed strong. I would say that there's only been one race that I haven't been disappointed. And really the race that destroyed me, the first 2 legs that I did, I blew my mind at how great I did. So the first leg, it was a short 4-miler, and I ran it. My average was about 10-minute mile, and I ran it at 8.5-minute miles. And so that blew my mind. I didn't know I was capable of doing that.
Yeah.
And then the next leg I had was 7 miles. And I had only ever run maybe 5 miles. And so I didn't think I could do it. But the whole time I'm telling myself I can do it, I stopped looking at the mile markers.
Yeah.
I stopped listening to my watch telling me that I hit another mile because I didn't care. I was just going to go until I got there. And I made it. I did all 7 miles. And then that last leg destroyed all of the positive things I did ahead. It goes to show that one negative thing can literally destroy everything.
You can. Yeah.
And it's gross. It's like when you get a negative review for your business. You can get 500 positive raving reviews of how great you are. And that one negative review is the one that sticks with you.
Yeah, that is tough.
Yeah, you got to learn to let it go.
But it's only tough because we care.
Right.
Now, if it didn't bother us, it doesn't have to destroy it. But I don't know. I think there's wisdom in ignoring all the negative noise out there about, it's usually people who are too lazy to do anything with their lives anyway, so they're going to criticize us or criticize you or whoever it is. But, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. On the other hand, and it's just for me, it's imperative that I hear it or that I listen to it. So there's a difference between listening to it and hearing it. White Men Can't Jump, one of my favorite movies, for obvious reasons. Yeah. I could jump. But anyway, that's not here or there.
Can't run, but you can jump.
I love Woody Harrelson.
But Harrelson and Snipes?
Yeah, Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing Jimi Hendrix for Wesley Snipes. And Wesley said, it's Jimi Hendrix. And Woody Harrelson says, no. You listen to Jimi Hendrix. You don't hear him. There's a difference between listening to Jimi Hendrix and hearing Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
You get my yeah. So I think it's important to listen to that stuff. But when we hear it, it takes root too deeply sometimes. And it just has a way of just debilitating our hope.
Sure.
And our drive and our strength. And we just say, I'm just going to fail again. And all those seeds just blossom into doubts and bad self-talk and all these other things. Yeah. But I think it's a tough balance. I think we need to hear negativity from and criticisms. But how do we keep it constructive in here?
Sure. Yeah.
No matter how they say it. I've had people tell me very difficult things in really bad ways. And I'm like, well, screw that guy or screw Aaron. And then I would walk away and say, wait a minute, what did they say? And is there any validity to it? Is there any value to what they said? Forget how they said it. And that's really tough.
Right.
But
right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
There's a book, I can't remember what it's called. It was one of Jocko Willink's books.
Oh, Jocko, yeah.
I think he has like 3 or 4 books now. Can't remember which one. But one of the chapters was, I think it was called Extreme Responsibility or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he told this story about how it was like one of the few times he got into a firefight where someone ended up dying when he was a SEAL in Afghanistan or something like that.
Mm.
And his immediate response was to like figure out who to blame. And then he realized like, no, like there was these things that like I could have done from the start to communicate differently, to do all these things where this never would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, the concept was no, like when something goes wrong and you're in charge, it's your fault. So like, that's my view with like negative reviews and things like that too. Like, oh, it's your fault. You got the negative review. Unless this person's crazy and lying, you did something. Like,
sure.
Well, okay. I would say, I think there's a difference between, if you're the leader, it's being your fault versus you're ultimately responsible.
You're right.
I think there's a difference.
There is a difference. And I think he means it more that other way, because the implication is that you don't look at it as like as a one-time thing. You just look at it as, now how do we adjust moving forward? When someone dies, that's the ultimate.
That's harder.
That's the ultimate.
In business, we don't have to deal with people dying.
No.
But it is that same idea of like, I could stand here and I can make this, like I'm going to pause time and I'm going to live here forever. Or you just go with the world and you move on and you make sure like you do your best to mitigate it next time.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people I've talked to, especially when I talk to people who are trying to do something new with their business, or they want to move their career into something like that. They come with all of their baggage of excuses of why it's everyone else's fault, why they didn't get anything done,
Absolutely.
or why all this stuff happened to them. And I have little patience for it because I've just been through a lot, and I had to come to a point where I was like, I'm either going to use everything that's happened to me to keep me broken, or I'm just going to say, screw it, I got to start doing something. And there's not room for excuses. If you're going to be your limiter, then there's nothing that can ever like help you.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because no matter how much Tony Robbins you listen to, you at the end of the day, it comes down to making a choice to go to the gym, making a choice to go to work, making a choice to do the things at work that you just hate doing, but are necessary for functioning your work.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It all really comes down. I'm the same way. I have very little patience for people who make excuses, and also stupid people. And when I say stupid people, there's a difference to me between stupid and ignorance. Ignorance is they just don't know.
Yeah.
I can't blame somebody for what they don't know. But stupid is knowing better, but making stupid choices anyway to wreck yourself or whatnot. I have very little, if any, patience for folks like that. Yep. God bless them, compassion, respect them, but you're not going to be in my circle.
Yeah.
And they're probably fine with that, so I don't care.
And statistically, they're part of society. So like if we just look at it like from an outside view too, of people trying to participate in a society of millions and millions of people, this is part of it. And they have their place in society, and they have their groups where they have their circles, and we all interact, and we all have to get along. So it's like, that's another thing where I think we add value judgments too quick, is like, if you're not in my group, you're bad. Yeah. You know, we have these like values to it where it's like, you're going to have to like go and buy something from them or sell them something or interact with them.
It's not a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
It's that we just don't have that much in common. Yeah. And that's okay, dude. That doesn't make them bad. We don't vilify them for it.
We also might completely disagree.
Yeah.
But that's like where we live is we got to learn to like be okay with that, because if we want to be able to disagree, then we have to be able to disagree.
Yeah.
And
sure. Well, and that's part of being like a grown-up, right? A quote-unquote grown-up. You learn these things as a child.
One would
right?
think.
And
one would think.
Okay, yes. Well, that's kind of what the podcast is about, right? Is that we don't have to agree with everything that you say, but we don't have to walk away and hate each other. You know, we can walk away and just respectfully disagree and just live amicably in the same environment, right? I mean, you see that with coworkers. You know, you're put in this environment together not because you chose your coworkers, but because somebody above you chose who you're going to work with, and now it's like, oh, guess what? Now you get to all work together. You're not going to always agree on things, but that doesn't mean that you can't come together cohesively and produce something great.
Yeah. And that's if you're all agreeing to work together towards something, where like Aristotle, he put it like the greatest goal of the state is friendship. Like the end of society is friendship. So like, it's not the idea that we have to be intimate partners with each other, but we have to be able to be friends with each other. We have to be able to be friendly. We have to have that level of interaction. You just have to.
Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, like if you're working together, you know what your product is. As a society, we don't talk about what the product of society is.
Yeah.
So we focus so much on the disagreement.
Sure.
We don't have this mutual agreement that we're working towards friendship in grander scale, however watered down it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were saying that you don't pick your coworkers. That's true. You don't pick your coworkers. I find it very interesting that we picked each other in spite of our differences.
Sure.
And I think that's what makes what we do so. I think we are the beacon of light to the society of Americans. I think that we are the example.
Are we the Messiah?
You know better than to say stuff like that to me. You know better. She's pushing my buttons. Okay. No, we are not the Messiah of anything.
So
There's only one of those.
We're the beacon of light.
We are the beacon. We are the lighthouse for all Americans, including Nate here. Nate is being led to the light.
I thought lighthouses tell you where the danger is.
Oh, burn.
Shots fired.
Dang, man.
Where were you? You're the one that always says shots fired.
I feel attacked.
Stay away from here, so the lighthouse says.
There's a story in the Navy. My dad was in the Navy, and I was actually born on a naval base. But there's this big warship, this big captain, like he's one of the top guys in the Navy, and he's on that ship, and he sees this light in the distance, and he says, "Hey, you need to change course. We're coming through." And this is Captain so-and-so. And on the other end comes, you actually need to change your course, Captain, because we're not going to move. You need to change your course. Captain comes on. "Hey, this is Captain so-and-so. Change your course now. Whoever you are, I outrank you, I assure you." Guy on the other end comes up. "Well, I'm Private Wilson. You need to change your course, Captain. I'm not moving." Captain comes back on. "Listen here, you little,
so-and-so.
You little so-and-so. You're going to change course because of who I am. I'm not moving. Change your course." "Private Wilson here, sir. I can't change my course. I'm a lighthouse. And if you don't change your course, your ship will sink." I just wanted to tell that story.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard that story before. Probably. Have I not heard it?
Sounds like one of those parable type stories.
Yeah. It's like, I'm immovable because of who I am. You have to do what I say. And it's like, well, I mean, you can't move a mountain, sir. So I don't know what you want me to do.
Status is a human thing.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. Well,
speaking of status,
I'm a host.
I saw an incredible
Nate's
video
not
today.
A host. He's a guest. That's a status.
You know DJ Khalid?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Okay. So I watched a video today. He's getting out of his car. I don't know what kind of car it is. Somebody opened the door for him. He's getting out of the car. He looks on the ground. He goes, "Oh, I don't want to get my J's dirty." He goes, "Hey, can you guys come help me out?" So these two bodyguard bouncer guys pick him up, carry him over to this like side-by-side utility vehicle that drives him over to the stage. They then pick him up out of the vehicle and carry him to the stairs.
Dear Lord.
And I'm thinking, this is not a grown man. This is an adult toddler. Like, I mean, you can't put a pair of slides on to get you from point A to point B and then put your J's on so they don't get dirty. Also, how much money do you make? You can't buy a second pair. And if there's not a second pair, why are you wearing them anyways? All these thoughts were going in my head. So you were correct. Status is just uniquely to us humans. And I think the more money we have, the more status that we think that we should have. And we talked about this last time about janitors and CEOs. And it's just like, I'm looking at him thinking more of what are the bodyguards thinking, having to carry this grown man so his shoes don't get dirty?
Well, he's a big dude. I'm thinking the bodyguards are thinking, don't
huge.
Drop this fat guy.
No, they're like twice his size. They're
huge
guys.
Then,
they're
a
big
dude.
babies. Yeah,
dude.
They're big guys. But I can't imagine what's going through these two grown men who are hired by him to be bodyguards. I mean, they're just doing it because he probably pays them a lot of money.
Don't drop him.
Yeah, you're carrying this big guy because he doesn't want to get his Jordans dirty.
I
don't.
That is very curious.
Staged, though, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think it was staged.
It was like a video of someone from the distance watching it all happen. Mm-hmm. Oh, it wasn't like the video right up in front of him.
No. Well, it was like they were pretty close. I mean, maybe it was staged
staged. Who's taking the video?
I don't know.
Someone he knows.
I don't. Yeah. Either way, he looks ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Either way.
Is that something you do in the Curiosity Lab, Nate? Is that what this is about? What is the Curiosity Lab? I know that's kind of a rough transition, but I've from the beginning we were talking about curiosity, different types of curiosities, but I think a good question is, what exactly is the Curiosity Lab you run? Do you do psych tests like what we talked about in the beginning, or
maybe
what is this about? What is what is? I know what a lab is. What's so curious?
So, curiosity.
Yeah.
There's been two main things in my life. One of them has been photography, and the other one has been philosophy. And I pursued both as a career. And at a certain point in philosophy, I decided I didn't want to be part of universities anymore. But what I studied in philosophy was political philosophy, politics, the intersection of how people act, and how we view ourselves. That was a lot of my philosophical stuff, is how we view ourselves in relationship to our society. And then photography, I've just kind of always been interested in business, like commercial photography, fashion photography. Really, I thought was interesting, mostly because I thought that's what photographers are supposed to do if you're not doing like weddings.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the Curiosity Lab now, I mean, that name was a catchphrase, Curiosity Lab,
that
my graphic designer came up with. It was when we were rebranding.
Well, it's brilliant.
Yeah. But it's the intersection of like philosophy and media, or more specifically, the way I think about it is like the intersection of business and politics. And so I don't think you could be in business doing anything worthwhile if you're not thinking about your relationship to the community, if you're not thinking about your relationship to like your role, if it's just you, how your role affects your clients, your employees, everything. It's all political. And then especially business, the way business and government go hand in hand in the United States, you have to be thinking that way if you're in business. Yeah, sure. And if you're not, you're going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. And society is your clients, right?
Yeah.
You got to know them.
Yeah.
You better know them.
Yeah. And I don't think giving any sort of power historically, like a purely socialistic way, all of the people, like if that's ever really existed, or like a communistic way all the way to the people. And I don't believe in like this authoritarian capitalism either. But I think if we get intentional about our businesses and how we interact with our communities, and you treat your community like your stakeholders, the way like a tech company treats its investors, then like you can actually make some pretty serious change using capitalism. You can cause a lot of innovation within industry. You have the potential to grow your business to a size that can, like create jobs. You can create a nice life for yourself. Like there's ways to think about it bigger. So that's where the Curiosity Lab comes in. Okay, you got a business idea. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about it to get you doubting it, basically. In the sense of like, is this a good idea? Do people need this? Is this worthwhile? If you're just trying to make money, like go start a Shopify website and don't talk to me. Like there's plenty of things you can just plug and play.
Be gone with you.
Yeah. And there's plenty of advertising agencies and marketers who will help you do that nonsense. So I think
really love that.
I think that we can do something meaningful if we think about the intersection of business and politics. Politics has a negative connotation because when you think politics, you think what's going on in the federal government or what's going on at the state level. But like I stick to the classical like Aristotelian definition of just the interaction between people, and like the basic form of politics is the family.
Yeah, it's just it's another word for the dynamics between individuals in the system that they're in, business-wise, and the clients.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Just relationships.
Yeah.
And if you're not thinking about how you can be working together, even if you're selling something, then to me, you're missing a huge part of what it means to be a human. And it creates the processes where you're thinking so self-centered. You're using every excuse to stop you from even doing anything. And then it comes back down to basic needs and like pursuing homeostasis, like kind of what we were talking about earlier. And so then you get a lot of people taking shortcuts with their careers, with their businesses, with all this kind of stuff, all to preserve this level of comfort and this status quo. And then when you look around you see, oh, all I need to do is this. And you keep your sights low and you don't improve. And you end up having downtowns where no one wants to shop there because none of the businesses serve the lifestyle of the community. And like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense. And then people are buying stuff they don't need from corporations. And
well, don't you think that's one of the reasons that most small businesses fail within the first 2 years? I think it's 80-something% of small businesses fail within the first 2 years. I don't think that people think through. They think through their passion, and I want to make money doing my passion, but they don't think through the philosophical issues of, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Simon Sinek wrote a great book called Start With Why, and it's really good. And you really get down to like, why am I actually doing this? Even if it's just for myself, my own personal satisfaction. Okay, build around that, not some idea that that's not really why you're doing it, because they tend to fail. They don't think about the psychology behind sales or how to run a business. Matter of fact, most of the people I talk to in estate planning about their own business, they don't have an operational agreement. They don't have a contingency plan. They don't know how to do 1099s for independent. I mean, like there's all these things. Do you have E&O?
Right.
They just don't do anything. You just say, I'm just going to do something.
They know how to do their craft. They don't know how to own a business.
Right. That's a big difference.
Right. And which when you first start out, you most likely can't afford people to help you with that.
Right.
And then as you grow, you hire people to help you with that. So you could do your craft. You can focus on that. And they focus on the payroll and the taxes and the bookkeeping and making sure that you have HR systems in place and all that stuff, right? Which is great pie in the sky stuff. But when you're just a single person running a business, like myself, all of that stuff kind of like gets forgotten, you know, because we get so busy working on the other things that are making us money.
Because those things are not necessary right up front. Those are things you grow into. A lot of those things you just you grow into them. But the problem is a lot of times as a business grows, if it never grows, you don't really grow into anything. But as a business grows, you've got to grow into those different aspects. You better be keeping track of your finances because the IRS is. Okay, you're going to meet every April.
They know how to find you.
Yeah, they know how to find you. So anyway.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting. There's a lot of things that, I mean, when I started, I just thought I can just start finding clients. Like people say my work's great. Like this will be easy, you know? And then I don't think about the fact that I have to find more people than will hire me because not everyone's going to hire me. And I don't think about I need to have good like personal skills and communication skills because there's going to be meetings and I'm going to have to call you and like, I didn't think about any of this stuff.
Sure.
It was all trial and error and just embarrassing myself and learning to ask questions so that I don't have to walk away wondering. And like, it's like all this stuff that you learn along the way. But one thing I wish they would have taught me, they being just anyone, I asked.
They.
Yeah.
We will be talking about aliens in future episodes. Is that who the they is?
That's one of my favorite topics to talk about.
Oh, I'll have to have you come back then because this one will be way too long if we start approaching in that.
Yeah. I want to ask him if aliens are Bigfoot right now, but he's in the middle of something. So we'll save it.
You should let him finish his thought.
Go ahead, Nate. Finish your thought.
Oh, that's okay. I just think there's different levels. So like for me, if you want to be a photographer, you could be the freelancer who does it every now and then. You can be the independent contractor who works for agencies. You could be the independent contractor who works for brands, or you can go and get an agent who finds you certain type of work, or you can own a business and do it all. But different industries are stratified different ways, and you got to find where you're going to like fit into that.
Sure.
And I think that if you can imagine a certain thing for yourself, that's a huge indicator that you can find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there who don't have an imagination to own a creative agency like I'm trying to build. But there are a lot of people out there with the aspiration to be a freelancer with an agent. And so if you want to be in the media production industry, there's not like one way to go, one way to end up, one way to start, all these kinds of things. And choose an industry, and there's all this stuff.
Yeah,
like that,
absolutely.
You know? So I think a lot of it has to do with not necessarily like all of the business sense, because you can learn that stuff even through just like failing in meetings the way I did it. But you got to have a vision for where you're going, and you got to like be okay with, even if you've never read it, even if your parents never told you this is the type of vision people have, you got to be like okay with the fact that you're having it is a fact that you're experiencing.
Yep.
Right.
And Marcus Aurelius has this cool quote where he says like, basically challenging anything that's a challenge is a sign that like you gotta move. Like any obstacle to your way becomes the way.
Yeah.
And it's like that's exactly what it is. If you can see that there is an obstacle, that means you're seeing beyond the path anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's right.
Sure.
If you come to a mountain and you're just like, oh, there's a mountain, and you make your camp, and you're not thinking about how to get over that mountain. But the explorer who's wondering what's on the other side of the mountain, when they get there, they make camp and they plan to hike the next day.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I heard a quote one time. It says, "Your enemy is the bridge to your success. Your enemy is the bridge to your success, or the bridge to your future." In other words, don't run away from it. There are certain times you need to avoid certain dangers. Other times they're obstacles. And the hardest part is having the wisdom to know the difference. You see that mountain, is it a sign that I should stop?
Right.
Or is it a sign that says, you know what, you're going to go over this thing, not around it, and it's going to make you stronger on the other side. Knowing which one of those things it is takes wisdom. And I think wisdom only comes from failure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, wisdom, not much wisdom comes from success, in my opinion, because a broken clock is right, at least twice a day, right? So is that a sign that I'm on the right time scale? No, not necessarily. It could be broken and it's just right today. It just happens to be. But man, I don't know how do you know when to conquer that thing, or when to, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out. That's a sign that I should go elsewhere or a different way. How do you know the difference?
That's the thing. Different ways. I don't think you should let it stop you. I think if you think that you can, then you should at least try. And it's the same thing for like weightlifting. Like, I think I can deadlift 500 pounds. If I go into the gym on day one and I
look like you can,
right? But I've been lifting for a decade, and so I built a capacity.
Sure.
And so like I can go into the gym for an hour and a half, and I can lift weights nonstop without breaks, and like really gas myself out because I've been doing it for so long because I have a capacity. So when you come to that mountain, maybe you only go up a little bit because you don't have any capacity, but your capacity gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
The more times you try.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, maybe you realize, oh, this mountain is actually not climbable.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things you can't fight a black bear. Like there's certain limitations to humanity.
Challenge accepted.
Nice one. Drug it,
but
only when it's on cocaine, right?
No.
Oh my gosh. I have
cocaine bear.
You want a sedative?
I heard the story about the cocaine bear on My Favorite Murder, and then the movie came out.
Oh, fun.
But I haven't seen the movie yet.
Is that a true story?
It's a true story.
You got to be kidding me.
I think the movie's embellished for sure.
I think the bear's name was Hunter.
But the story about it is that these drug smugglers push cocaine out of their airplane as their drop, like they normally drop it, and then people come through and then they pick it up because it's a normal drop. And this grizzly bear found it.
Oh, dear Lord.
And the grizzly bear got super high and ultimately died, overdose, right, on cocaine. So Cocaine Bear is actually a true story.
Wow.
It's funny how simplistic they keep drug smuggling. They just drop parachute.
Yeah, I'm just going to drop it out of the airplane. You guys can pick it up.
In America.
All right,
how
cool.
are they getting over it?
It's
pretty simple. They just drop it out.
Yeah, they just...
They do. Well, I mean, the wall is only so high.
I saw the funniest the funniest reel the other day, and it was the caption was teaching man about a ladder, right? So this guy's talking about the wall, at the border, and this guy goes, well, what about ladder? What if they just put a ladder against it? And he goes, what's a ladder? And he goes, well, it's this thing. He shows a picture of a ladder. And he goes, I've never seen one of those before. He goes, you've never seen a ladder before? And he goes, no, when was it invented? Like, I don't know, 3,000 years ago?
It's like
and he
one
goes,
of the first things.
yeah, he goes, oh, I've never come across one of those. Does everybody have one of these? Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much everybody has one of those. You could just pick one up at the local store and, put the ladder against the wall and go over the wall. And he goes, yeah, I don't know why we didn't think about ladders.
Hey.
And I thought that was really funny. But it's like, it's like you break everything down to its most simplistic form. And chances are that's the thing that's going to make you success.
Mm.
Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid.
Right. Yeah. The more you complicate things, the more you have to remember, oh, yeah, that's how we're doing it this time. I forgot. Yeah. Well, we definitely have to have you on again to talk about aliens, etc.
Oh, absolutely.
I did put requests in a bunch of Facebook groups across the U.S. to ask them about some alien stuff, and I got some really interesting stories out of Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Oh,
yeah. No one else is commenting. Santa Fe, New Mexico brought it though.
Interesting.
Which I thought was super interesting. And then the more I say it out loud, the more people say, "Oh yeah, I've seen an alien." I'm like,
you're manifesting.
Shut up. So
there's been
coming
a lot of
soon.
stuff over the last few years.
Yeah.
There has.
Well,
even the government admits to certain things, right?
Oh yeah. Hey,
yeah.
And when the government admits something.
Oh, I know, right?
Then you know it's true.
Yeah,
well,
right.
are we
exactly.
talking aliens as in illegal immigrants, or are we talking about aliens from like outer space?
I'm talking about space people, the people from outside of our world. But we did
Don't
promise.
call them people. They're probably not people. They're probably beings. When I think of people, I think of Nate here, for example. He's not an alien, I don't think.
When we
Nate
say
is a people,
we don't usually mean our dogs too, but
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Maybe
he makes a good point.
Yeah.
But a person.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. A being of some sort that came from somewhere else. ETs.
What makes a person a person?
Well, and you and I.
That's like another 30-minute conversation.
Oh
well.
I like how you.
Technically. Right?
Well, we promised at the end of our last episode that we were going to talk about flat earthers, right? So we still have to talk about that, but I am having a really hard time finding somebody who believes in flat earth theory, or at least somebody who believes and will actually have a conversation with us.
Well,
so if you're out there and you want to come on and talk to us.
Well,
because I've gone into different forums, I've gone everywhere, and I have yet to find a single person that believes that will come on and talk to us. So and we might just have to talk about it.
Well, the comment was that, hey, why would a flat earther come on just to get pummeled by a non-flat earther?
Right.
And
especially if it's someone you guys know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the point. We don't want to pummel them.
No, you saw my response,
I am very curious.
You saw my response, right?
I didn't. What was your
my response was, no, it's all in fun. Mm-hmm. We kind of push back a little bit to each other. It's not going to be contentious or anything like that.
No.
But I have mathematical questions about your beliefs, kind of a deal, and they I'm sure they would have an answer for it. But I think they're concerned about coming on and being ridiculed or whatnot. And that's not the idea is to show both sides.
Yeah.
Not to show that I'm right. I'm right. But it's to show. But it's to show that, look, there's people on both sides of this who have good things to say.
Sure.
And let the audience decide what they want.
I told my husband that we were looking for some flat earthers to interview, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I work with two of them. Let me see if I can get them on here." So he's texting him furiously, like, "Oh, you guys have to be on the show. It'd be so awesome," because they are the type of person that would razz us and push back. Right?
Yeah,
which would be awesome. And And come to find out, they actually don't believe in flat Earth theory. They just like to troll people and say they believe in flat Earth theory.
Those are my types of people. Let's bring them on.
Well, maybe they just want to come on anyways.
Yeah, we could talk about it because...
And I don't want to necessarily make fun. I don't believe.
Oh, I do.
But you want to make fun.
Fun, though. In all fun, not to insult. But
I'm very curious in their thought process. And not from what I'm Googling or what I'm seeing on Reels, but... Why do you feel like there is an edge to the Earth? What processes have you gone through? If you ask me why I thought the Earth is round, I have not done research.
Oh, I have.
I've just been told the Earth is round. And then I've seen photos and videos. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I can jump on board with that. So I can see why somebody might drink the Kool-Aid of the Earth is flat.
Well, this is what happens when if you are not educated on things like physics, and not everybody is. There's nothing. It doesn't mean they're stupid, but it does mean that they're ignorant of the things of physics. When it comes to physics, aerodynamics, general theory of relativity, when you're not well versed in actual science, not hypothetical science, because here's the thing: science doesn't say anything. Scientists do.
Sure.
Right? And we all come with our different bias, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to know the difference between hypotheses and theories and laws. Mm-hmm. And I like to stick to laws for things I want to dogmatically be certain about. And when you do that and you're well versed in that, you discover a flat earth is impossible. It is literally impossible. Mathematically, logic, and I don't mean theoretical logic. I'm talking about the laws of logic. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a difference.
Sure.
Because what you say is logical and what Nate says is logical and what I say is logical could all be three different things. I'm talking about laws. And so it's kind of like, well, I don't want to go there, but it's like XX chromosomes and XY chromosomes. Sure. It only means two things no matter what you think inside, and I'm not criticizing, okay, to each their own, but science says that this is this if you have this, and this is this if you have that. And so, and that's what's provable by science. Now there's all these other things that you can add to it for whatever the reasons, and hey, more power to you.
Right.
But when it comes to flat Earth, and you just look at that, I'm really excited to talk about flat Earth.
I think you already
in great
have.
detail. No, I haven't even gotten started yet because
we should put
I have questions.
Pin in that, or perhaps we should bracket it for later.
Well played.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about while you're here? You are going to be coming back, no doubt about that. Is there anything else you want to talk about today?
If you want to.
If you want to. He's like,
dear
Lord, let me out of here.
He's like, I'm not sure.
Let me out.
Like, do I have topics of interest? I don't have anything like specific.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I think I speak for both of us when I say we really like you. We're glad you came on with us today. It's always interesting to get another person in here because we get tired of each other. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
It's fun.
It's been good. You got to come back and talk about aliens and stuff like that. It'd be great.
It's always good to have that third person.
Yeah.
Right? Bounce ideas off of. And as you could tell, we clearly have zero direction. You came on this morning.
Yeah.
Well, it's noon. It's after noon now. Yeah.
He's
you
a
came
brave
on this
soul.
morning. And,
brave soul.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was great.
If anybody wants to get a hold of Nate at the Curiosity Lab, how can they do that?
Website's NateStevensCuriosityLab.com.
And that's Stevens with a V.
Stevens with a V. STEVENS.
Yeah,
that's how to find me. Nate
Great.
Stevens Curiosity Lab.
Perfect. Good deal.
You want to?
Yeah, like, subscribe, email us. We're looking for all kinds of interesting stories. Something happened to you that was curious or outrageous, write us an email, Aaron@nodirection.com or Jamie@nodirection. Why are you laughing at me? Because I said curious?
You invited people
what I do.
who want to talk about. Never mind.
No, what I do.
No, I don't. Look, you're doing a great job, Aaron.
Sure. Okay.
You're doing a great job.
All right.
Okay.
Such a jackass.
All right. It was great having you guys.
She dumped her head in shame. She dumped her head in shame.
It was great having us, wasn't it? Thank you for allowing us to do this nonsense. Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right. Why doesn't Nate tell everybody to like and subscribe for us?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, Nate.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
He's like, don't subscribe to this.
Are you ready to say goodbye yet? Say goodbye.
Goodbye. Out.
Bye, guys. Jeez.